If you were to ask someone what kind of game Warframe is, you'll get varying answers based on when they played and for how long, with one of the most common answers being a looter shooter, something I entirely reject. I started playing in 2021, around 8 years after a game released and right before a major New War update that wrapped up the established story up to that point, and have been playing consistently since, and I'd say that Warframe is best described as a third-person horde shooter MMO. I bring this up because Warframe has changed a lot over time and the content reflects it. Generally speaking, the older the content, the rougher it is. Anything prior to 2020 is going to be a bit lackluster, I'd say. Though I anticipate that will change in the upcoming years, as they've been doing major new player experience improvements for the past 2 years, including the upcoming Io Weaver update in June, giving one of the early game bosses some touch-ups to make them significantly more interesting. Depending on when you're watching this video, it's very much possible they've done more like this, and I suggest checking the patch notes to see what has changed since then. Now, you may be asking why I'm starting this off with a negative point, and there's a very simple answer to that. People are less likely to keep playing the game if they aren't having fun. There's no incentive to get your money's worth out of a free-to-play game. If it's not fun, why bother? I feel it's better to go in prepared knowing what parts might be weaker, rather than going in blind and ending up unimpressed. Once you're past those parts, Warframe is one of the best games on the market. It'll take you a bit to get to those parts, but the time spent is very much worth it. Warframe's basic gameplay loop involves you completing missions to acquire resources, gear, and most importantly, upgrades for your gear known as mods. Mods are a main way of getting stronger as they boost the stats of your character and weapons. You'll find these everywhere, to the point you'll amass tons of duplicates which can be dissolved into endo, a material used to upgrade the mods themselves to give higher bonuses. Stronger mods are often rewards for specific challenges, such as mods that give multiple effects or give very high bonuses, but at a cost. Mods have a capacity cost which limits how much you can put on, but you can increase this by applying an Orokin catalyst or reactor, referred to as a potato by the community, which doubles the available capacity. These can be acquired in a few ways, but most commonly from a free battle pass system, Nightwave, or acquired for 20 platinum, the game's premium currency. It's worth noting that anytime a weapon is given to you pre-built, whether as a reward, purchased from a store, or received as a special gift, it'll come with a potato pre-installed. For example, tuning into TennoCon this year will grant you Valkyr Prime. Be sure to tune in on July 19th, 2025. Now, you might be asking yourself, what's a Prime in this context? Well, primes are the improved versions of existing weapons and warframes that are often easier to obtain than their regular counterparts, and they're completely free as well. Prime warframes have higher base stats in regards to health, shields, etc., but no difference in terms of abilities. Weapons, on the other hand, do have stat increases, so if you enjoy a weapon, you should find out if there's a prime version or some other superior version, so you can invest your resources into that instead of a base version. Another way to equip more mods onto a weapon is by using a forma, which can be acquired from void relics, which is the same method of how you get prime items, and then applied to a weapon to cut the cost of a mod in half, should the polarity match. Prime items will often have more pre-installed on them, making them easier to use with less investment. You're also able to purchase Forma in bundles of 3 for 35 platinum. You can also buy them individually for 20, but I would advise against that. The last thing to round off a group of items that you'll probably have to spend money on at some point are item slots, which are separated based on type and primarily obtained with platinum, though can be obtained as one-time rewards through progression. I mention this because I consider it the other obstacle, as it is the thing I see people complain about, especially from those who couldn't get into the game. If you plan on doing it fully free to play, it might be a bit of a headache for you, as you'll be at the mercy of what the game gives you and how willing you are to farm platinum by trading. As for what Warframe is actually about, I'll give you a quick spoiler-free summary. You play as a Tenno, a ninja warrior mercenary that fights for the good of all, belonging to a faction of the same name, protecting the soul system from evil clone armies, rampant capitalism, undead monsters, and more. Your journey will take you through the entire solar system and more, learning who the Tenno are and gaining strength and new powers while confronting ancient enemies along the way. The main way the story is told to you is via cinematic quests. The main story kicks off once you reach Uranus, though you have much to enjoy before you get to that point. Warframe's story is, a bit confusing at times, which is mainly a consequence of its age. Our first major story arc concluded in 2021, 8 years after the game's release. Anything past that is much more digestible and easier to understand. There's a certain outlier in the progression order that may be completely nonsensical when you first play it, the Deviri Paradox. First released as an alternative starting quest, then changed to be a quest unlocked after completing the starting quest, to being moved as a completion reward for Saturn, and may change again in the future. It's very much worth your time to complete, though. Completing a main story up to this point takes quite a while, but it's hard to give an exact estimate on how long it is, as your pace of a journey is up to you. There's many side quests and objectives to partake in at your leisure, which can easily add over 100 hours to your playtime if you're not in a rush. My personal suggestion is to keep progressing through planets as your main goal, then finish off any remaining missions once you're caught up on the plot, as that unlocks new modes for special rewards. And that about wraps up my review/guide for Warframe, though I have much more to say about the game on my new channel, Spruce Frame, which will exclusively be posting Warframe content. And one last piece of advice to you all. Pick Volt as your starter frame, don't pick Meg. That's all I ask of you. Thank you all for watching.